I walked onto my own property and found a demolition crew ripping my mansion apart and the HOA president standing. They're smiling, clipboard in hand, telling me I'd abandoned it. The smell of diesel exhaust. The screech of metal. On wood. My 100-year-old oak staircase. The one I'd spent weeks planning to restore in splinters on the lawn. 6 months ago, I bought this place for $127,000 at auction. Thornhill Manor, a 1920s lakefront dream on Lake Matthias, upstate New York. 6 bedrooms, 2 acres, 200 feet of private water. Sure, it was a wreck, but I'm Marcus Jennings. 20 years Navy CBS. I've rebuilt bridges and war zones. Left for a 3-month Alaska job. Came home to this. The woman with the clipboard, Darlene Vance, real estate agent, HOA president, professional. Thief, apparently. Would you have called the cops or done what I did? Comment below. Where are you watching from? Got an HOA nightmare? Tell me. Let me take you back to where this started, because every good fight has a reason worth fighting for. I spent 20 years in the Navy. CB's construction battalion. We built airstrips in the middle of nowhere, bridges under fire, barracks in 120-degree reheat. Good work, honest work. Then a training accident in my 18th year put shrapnel in my left leg. I walk with a limp now. Medical retirement at 45. Virginia disability checks, and a toolbox full of skills nobody wanted to hire. So I did carpentry side jobs. Deck repairs, kitchen remodels kept me afloat. My grandmother, Estelle, raised me in a 2-bedroom apartment in Syracuse. She cleaned houses for a living. Never owned anything. Just rented, moved, rented again. But she had this habit. She'd clip pictures from magazines, lakefront homes, big porches, docks stretching into blue water. She'd tape them inside her closet door and whisper, "One day, baby. One day we'll have a place like that." She died when I was 23. Never got her lake house. Fast forward to 2 years ago. I'm scrolling. Auction listings. Probably should have been job hunting. And I see it. Thornhill Manor estate sale foreclosure. Lakefront starting bid $1,950. The photos looked like a horror movie set, but I saw the hand-carved oak staircase. The stone fireplace built in 1924. Solid craftsman bones under all that rot. Auction day. I'm the only bidder. Closed at $127,000. Liquidated everything. Savings, truck, fund, Virginia rehab loan for $147,000. My daughter Zoe said, "Dad, that's not a fixer-upper. That's a felony waiting to happen." First walk through, the smell hit me like a wall. Wet plaster mouse. Droppings, something dead somewhere. Broken glass crunched under my boots. But sunlight poured through busted shutters, turning dust into gold. I ran my hand over that oak newel post, smooth, cool, generations of hands. Before mine, and felt Estelle watching. I had 18 months mapped out. Foundation, electrical, roof, woodwork. Do it. Myself, stretch the loan. Day 3, a white Lexus parks at my driveway's end. Out steps this woman. Mid-60s, helmet of ash blonde hair, pastel cardigan, clipboard gripped like a warrant. Mr. Jennings didn't wait for my answer. Darlene Vance, Architectural Review Board Chair for Lakeview Estates HOA. Thornhill violates 17 codes and 4 covenants. 30 days to submit plans for approval. I blinked. "Ma'am, I'm not in an HOA. Deed says no covenants." Her smile was all teeth, no warmth. "Oh, sweetheart. The plat map was amended in 2003. You bought in whether you knew it or not. There's nothing on your title. Company missed it. Not my problem." She clicked back to her Lexus. Wouldn't step onto the gravel like poverty was. Contagious, and left. I Googled her that night. Real estate agent, planning. Commission vice chair, widow of County Judge Venom. She mentioned him constantly later. Owned 3 lake rentals. Ran Vance and Associates brokerage. 2 weeks later, I submitted 40 pages. Architect drawings, engineer. Stamps, every spec. Rejection in 72 hours. Materials not in keeping with neighborhood character. I appealed. The ARB hearing was 10 minutes in a room. Reeking of burnt coffee and floral air freshener. Darlene sat at the head. Her buddy Ron, retired dentist, pasty guy, sat beside her. Darlene mispronounced my name 3 times. "Mr. Jennings." Ron leaned in. "You sure you can handle a project this scope given your situation?" Glanced at my leg brace. Darlene Syrup Sweet. We just want what's best for the community. Maybe a smaller property would suit you better. I kept my face neutral. I'll resubmit with adjustments. Walking out, I heard Ron mutter, "Good luck with that." That's when I knew this wasn't about codes. She wanted me gone. Week 4, I hired a structural crew, 3 guys, good rates to shore up the sagging north wall. Winter was 4 months out. If that wall went, the whole second floor could collapse. Day 2 of work, a county inspector pulls up. Jerry, 50s, gut hanging over his belt, clipboard permanently glued to his hand. Work stop order. He slapped a red tag on my front door like he was serving a warrant. I wiped sawdust off my hands. What's the problem? Building permits incomplete. Foundation surveys off by 18. In. Need an amended permit before you continue. Off by 18 inches. According to. Who? Jerry shrugged. County records. You'll need a new survey. 6 to 8 weeks processing. All work ceases immediately. Walked back to his truck. Boots crunching gravel loud enough to wake the dead. Didn't even look back. I called the survey company that afternoon. They pulled their file. Mr. Jennings, our measurements were accurate to the inch. We stake our license on it. Then who told the county it was wrong? Long pause. Permit review committee. Flagged it. There's a vice chair's signature on the hold order. Didn't need 3 guesses. My contractor Lyle. Called that night. Good man. Father of 4. Voice tight with guilt. Marcus. I can't keep my crew idle 2 months. I got mortgage, truck payments. I'm sorry, brother. I know. No hard feelings. I sat alone in Thornhill that evening on the grand staircase. Only piece of furniture in the whole place. The half-raised wall, gaped open to November wind. Outside, the lake lapped against the dock. Used to sound peaceful. Now it sounded like mocking laughter. My phone buzzed. Zoe texting, "Dad, you okay?" I typed back, "Yeah, just tired." Didn't tell her I'd been staring at that wall for an hour, thinking maybe she was right. Maybe this was a tear down. Maybe I should cut my losses. Sell to some developer. Take the L. Then I looked down. My hand was resting on that oak new post. Smooth. Cool. A 100 red years of other hands. I thought about Estelle in that cramped apartment taping magazine pictures inside her closet. One day, baby screw. That. I wasn't done. Next morning, I drove to the county clerk's office. Basement archives, the kind of place that smells like old paper and government neglect. Fluorescent lights buzzing like dying wasps overhead. I pulled every plat map, every zoning amendment, every HOA document from 1990 to present. Microfiche machines. Humming. Pages scrolling until my eyes burned. 3 nights. Gas station coffee that tasted like asphalt. And then I found it. That 2003 amendment Darlene kept waving around. The one that supposedly tied Thornhill to the HOA. Never ratified by county legislature, just town council. I remembered something from a construction law class. The Navy made me take. Town councils can impose deed restrictions on existing properties without higher approval. It's selective enforcement. Spot zoning, they call it. Illegal as hell in New York. And Darlene's signature was right there on the petition. Her late husband, the judge, Ron, the dentist, 2 other board cronies. All 5 owned. Lots next to Thornhill. I cross-chewed property records. After that amendment passed, their values jumped 30%. They'd rigged the game to squeeze out Thornhill's original owners. I scanned 18 pages, drafted a 6-page memo at 2 a.m. with shaking hands in my 4th cup of burnt rubber coffee. Emailed the full town council. Copied Beth Ramirez at the local paper. Copied the state attorney general's HOA fraud hotline. Subject, illegal covenant enforcement and abuse of process, Thornhill Manor. Hit send at 11:47 p.m. Tuesday. I'm no lawyer, can barely spell affidavit, but Fury and Google make one hell of a legal team. By Thursday, town council scheduled an emergency session. Translation, panic mode. Darlene called Friday afternoon. I stared at her name on my screen. Almost let it go to voicemail. Marcus, first names now, her voice dripping fake. Warmth like poison honey. I think there's been a misunderstanding. Let's have coffee. Work this out like neighbors. I stood in Thornhill skeleton, looking at exposed studs, the tarp snapping in the wind over that half-finished wall. I'll take my coffee at the next council meeting, Darlene. Public comment period. Silence. Then I heard it. Her nails. Sharp little clicks against her phone. A tight breath. You're making a mistake. Probably not my first. Definitely won't be my last. I hung up. That night, I installed 4 security cameras. Every angle covered. Cloud backup. If she wanted war, I'd document every battle. The council meeting was 2 weeks out. Plenty of time for her to escalate. And, oh, she did. Week 7, I showed up to the monthly HOA meeting, open to the public, technically ready to present my findings about that illegal plat map. I had printouts. I had my laptop with scanned documents. I even wore a button-down shirt instead of my usual Carhartt. Figured I'd look respectable, professional, harder to dismiss. I walked into that meeting room at the community center and knew immediately I'd been outplayed. Darlene had beaten me there by 2 hours. Every single seat had a glossy flyer on it. Full color, professional print job. Must have cost her $500 easy. Guess that's what panic buys you. Header in bold red. Safety concerns at Thornhill Manor. 1. Residents' reckless renovation endangers us all. I picked one up. My hands didn't shake. That's Navy training. You don't react until you've assessed the situation. But inside, I was furious. The flyer claimed my unsecured construction site was attracting trespassers. Teenagers drinking by the lake, leaving trash. Said debris from my work was washing into the water, creating environmental hazards. Accused me of doing unlicensed electrical work that could spark a fire and threaten neighboring homes. Every single word was a lie, but it was printed on heavy card stock with charts and bullet points, so it looked true. Darlene sat at the head table, hands folded, that pearl necklace gleaming under the fluorescent lights. She smiled at me, not a friendly smile, the smile of someone holding a royal flush. I sat in the back row, didn't say a word, just listened. 3 neighbors testified, all of them ARB members or relatives thereof. First up was Phyllis, 7S. Darlene's bridge partner, floral dress, and enough perfume to gas a small room. My property value has dropped $40,000 since that man moved in. $40,000, my realtor confirmed it. She wouldn't look at me. Second was Ron, the dentist. I've personally witnessed unsecured materials, lumber piles, exposed wiring. It's a lawsuit waiting to happen. Third was some guy I'd never seen. Turned out to be Ron's cousin. Lived 3 streets over. My kids used to play by that lake. Now I won't let them near it. Who knows what's in the water? The room nodded along. People I'd never met, never wronged, all agreeing I was some kind of reckless menace. One woman in the 3rd row glanced at me, then quickly looked away. Then Darlene stood, cleared her throat. The room went silent. Given these serious concerns, I'm proposing an emergency bylaw amendment. Any uninhabitable structure left unoccupied for 90 consecutive days can be declared a public nuisance. The HOA would have the authority to remedy the situation up to and including demolition with costs billed to the property owner. She paused. Let that sink in. We're not targeting anyone. This is about protecting our community. Ron nodded. Phyllis nodded. Half the room nodded like bobbleheads on a dashboard. When public comment finally opened, I didn't stand up and yell. Didn't slam my fist on a table. I walked to the front calmly, pulled out my phone, and connected it to the projector. Borrowed from the VFW hall that morning. Before you vote, I said voice level. You should see this first image. Timestamped. Security footage from my cameras. 11:14 p.m. 3 nights prior. Ron. Yes, that. Ron pulling up to my dock in his pickup, dumping a hefty bag of empty Bud Light cans onto the grass, then driving off. You could see his license plate clear as day. The room went dead silent. Phyllis's mouth opened. Ron turned the color of old oatmeal. Second image. Water quality test results from an independent lab dated 1 week ago. 0. Pollutants detected near Thornhill shoreline. Then a second report. Elevated bacteria levels near. And I read the address aloud. 346, Lakeshore Drive. That's one of your rental properties, Darlene. Leaking. Septic tank cost me $220 to test. Worth every penny. Third, a printout from my lawyer buddy at the VA. Rick had looked at Darlene's proposed bylaw and laughed so hard he nearly spilled his coffee. Turns out passing a rule specifically to punish someone who already bought property. That's what lawyers call retroactive application. Basically illegal in every state with functioning courts. Plus, I've been paying property taxes and insurance every month since closing. Legally, that's maintaining occupancy. Her bylaw was theater. I looked straight at Darlene. Mrs. Vance, I don't know if you're trying to steal my home or if you just can't stomach the idea of someone like me, a guy with a limp and a VA check owning a piece of this lake. Either way, I'm not going anywhere. And if that bylaw passes, I'll see you in court. Fraud and selective enforcement don't tend to play. Well, there. Silence, not a cough, not a shuffle. Then Beth Ramirez, the newspaper editor sitting in the press section, started clapping, slow, deliberate. 3 other people joined in. Darlene's face went from pale to crimson in about 2 seconds. She stood, grabbed her folder, and walked out. Without adjourning the meeting, just left. Ron had to scramble for the gavel and bang it twice. Meeting tabled. Pending legal review. I walked out into the parking lot. Cold November air. Smell of wet leaves and gasoline from the mowers stored behind the building. My hands were shaking now, adrenaline finally catching up. Next morning, I found a dead raccoon on my front porch. Stiff, eyes clouded. Someone's idea of intimidation, I guess. I stood there holding my coffee, staring at it, and genuinely wondered what kind of person thinks a dead animal is a power move. Called animal control. Had it removed in 20 minutes. Added another camera aimed at the porch. Darlene wanted to play stupid games. Fine. I had unlimited storage space and a growing evidence folder. Week 10. Darlene changed tactics. Since the HOA route had blown up in her face, she went back to what she knew best, weaponizing her planning commission connections. Monday morning, 8 a.m. sharp, a code enforcement officer showed up. Clipboard, reflective vest, took photos of my property from 17 different angles like he was documenting a crime scene. Wrote me up for overgrown vegetation creating fire hazard. The vegetation in question, native wildflowers I was intentionally preserving. I'd even gotten it certified as wildlife habitat through the state conservation program. Had the paperwork and everything. Didn't matter. Violation. Issued. $500 per day if not corrected within 10 days. Tuesday, health inspector found an open foundation. Violation. The open foundation was a crawl space vent. Standard ventilation. Required by code in every house built after 1950. Still got written up, another $500 per day. Wednesday, fire. Marshall cited me for unsecured hazardous chemicals. My paint can stored in a locked metal cabinet per OSHA regulations. Labels facing out, lids tight. I showed him my Navy CB certification. I'd handled actual explosives in combat zones, but he just shrugged and wrote the ticket. $500 per day. 3 violations. 10 days to fix. Problems that weren't problems. Total potential fines. $15,000. I sat at my folding table that night in the pop-up camper. No running water in Thornhill yet. No heat, just me and a space heater that barely worked. November cold crept through the canvas walls. My bad knee throbbed in the damp. I spread those citations out like a losing hand at cards and did the math. 15 grand would wipe out what was left of my renovation budget. I'd have to stop work entirely, sell at a loss, prove Darlene right. I sat there for an hour, staring at those papers, and genuinely wondered if Estelle would have wanted me to destroy myself over a house. Maybe. The smart move was surrender. Then my phone rang. Lyle, my old contractor. The one who'd had to bail months ago. Marcus, I heard what she's doing. It's garbage, man. Look, I can't do full-time, but weekends I'm yours. Free labor. You just cover materials. I couldn't speak for a second. Lyle, you got 4 kids. Mortgage. I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm offering. My kids need to see that sometimes you stand up to bullies instead of just talking about it. Let me help. My throat went tight. 20 years in the military. I'd had brothers in arms. Hadn't expected to find one here. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. 10 minutes later, Elena called. My neighbor 2 lots over. The one who never joined Darlene's HOA cult. Marcus, I saw who dumped that raccoon. Ron's brother-in-law. I got his plate number. I'll sign an affidavit if you need it. Elena, you know she'll come after you next. She laughed, sharp, bitter. Honey, she's been trying to cite me for unapproved mailbox color for 3 years. I'm used to it. Besides, my daughter's watching. I'm not teaching her to look away. That's 2, I thought. Two people willing to stick their necks out. Third call came that evening. Beth from the newspaper. I've been digging into Darlene's past. Found 3 prior HOA disputes. All settled out of court. All with NDAs. Can't print specifics, but the patterns. Obvious. She's a repeat offender. Can you run with that? Not yet. But keep feeding me facts. I'll build the case. I hung up and sat there in the dark camper, space heater humming, and realized something. I wasn't alone anymore. That changed the math entirely. Week 11. Then Darlene filed a lien against Thornhill. Claimed I owed 6 months of HOA dues. $200 per month plus $800 in late fees. $1,200 total. The lien hit public record Friday afternoon. Monday morning, my bank sent a letter. Title cloud detected. Resolve immediately or loan may be called. That was the gut punch. A lien tanks your credit, spooks lenders, kills. Renovation's dead. Darlene knew exactly what she was doing. She was trying to financially strangle me. I called Rick, my VA attorney buddy. Told him everything. Long silence on his end, then a low whistle. Marcus filing a knowingly false lien in New York. That's a misdemeanor. Plus, it opens her to civil damages, triple the lien amount. She just committed a crime in writing and signed her name to it. How fast can we move? 48 hours. Watch this. Rick sent a demand letter that afternoon. Certified mail, legal letterhead, the works. Withdraw the lien in 48 hours or face criminal referral and a $3,600 counterclaim. Darlene's expensive Albany attorney called Rick Tuesday morning. They spoke for 11 minutes. Wednesday, the lien vanished. No apology, no explanation, just gone. But Beth ran the story anyway. Page 3. Veteran battles HOA. Overreach. Van Camp under scrutiny for development conflicts in a town of 8,000. Page 3 might as well be a front page felony. That night, I built a fire in the pit by the dock. Burned the lien withdrawal notice ceremonially. Completely legal, completely satisfying. The paper curled and blackened, smoke twisting up into the cold October dark. I could smell applewood from the kindling, taste the ash on the wind. Somewhere overhead, a ski of geese honked south. They had the right idea. Leave before winter kills you. But I wasn't built that way. I cracked a beer, sat on the cold dock planks, and watched the embers glow. Darlene was panicking now. Panicked people make mistakes. And I'd be there to document every single one. Week 13. Beth called me on a Tuesday morning while I was up on Thornhill's roof patching a leak. Hands numb, fingers barely working. Marcus, you need to see this. I'm coming over now. 20 minutes later, she pulled up with a cardboard file box and the kind of caffeinated energy that screams either breakthrough or breakdown. We crammed into my camper, barely room for 2 humans in her evidence pile, and she started pulling documents like a magician with a very boring rabbit. I requested 5 years of planning commission votes. Took them 6 weeks to comply. But look, she'd made a spreadsheet. Darlene's votes on one side, development projects on the other, 7 controversial lakefront builds. All 7 approved by Darlene. All 7 were Vance and Associates clients. Average commission $22,000 each. I whistled low. That's a pattern. That's a career. But wait, there's more. She pulled out a brittle photocopy. Property records 2019. Thornhill Manor pre-foreclosure. Edward Collier, the original owner, was in a nursing home. His daughter Claire was trying to manage the sale from Oregon. Stapled to the back, a notice of interest filed by Darlene Van Camp. Offer $95,000. My stomach dropped. She tried to buy Thornhill. Lowball offer. Claire rejected it. 6 months later, it went to auction. Darlene probably thought she'd coast in, grab it for pennies, flip it to a developer for $300,000. Beth's grin was sharp. Then you showed up and ruined her retirement plan. How'd you find the daughter? Reporters never reveal sources, but Claire kept emails. Read this. She handed me her phone. Email. From April 2019. Darlene's business account to Claire Collier. Subject. Final. Offer. 3 sentences. Miss Collier, I urge you to reconsider my offer of $95,000. If you refuse, I will ensure the property is condemned as uninhabitable. The town will seize it via eminent domain, and you will receive nothing. This is your last opportunity to walk away whole. I read it once, twice. My vision tunneled. She threatened to destroy someone's inheritance if they didn't sell to her. Extortion in writing, using her planning commission position as a weapon. Claire's been carrying this for 5 years, thinking nobody would believe her against a judge's widow. I handed the phone back. My voice came out flat. What happens now? Forwarded to the DA and Attorney General this morning. Rick has copies. This isn't HOA drama anymore, Marcus. This is felony abuse of office. Criminal extortion. She weaponized her public position for private profit. I leaned back against the camper's thin wall. The space heater rattled like it was trying to shake itself apart. Outside, the lake churned gray and angry. How many others? You think? More than we'll ever know. But that email is a smoking gun. Beth packed up her files. DA's opening in investigation. Albany News Station wants to run it tonight. 6 p.m. I watched on my phone. Young reporter outside. Darlene's office knocking. She opened the door, saw the camera, slammed it hard enough to rattle the frame. Mrs. Vance, did you threaten eminent domain to force a property sale? Her voice through the door, shaking. No comment. Leave me alone. 18 seconds of footage. By midnight, 18,000 Facebook views. Comments exploded. A contractor said she'd blocked his permits until he hired her nephew. A retired teacher claimed Darlene threatened violations when she wouldn't list with Vance and Associates. The town was excavating. Decades of buried grudges. I sat on the dock that night, breath pluming white in the cold, and thought about Edward Collier, about his daughter getting that threatening email about every person Darlene had crushed who didn't have cameras or lawyers or a newspaper editor in their corner. She'd built an empire on fear. Now the foundation was cracking. My phone buzzed. Text from Rick. DA wants to meet Thursday 10 o'clock. Yeah, bring everything. I texted back everything. Might need a truck. His reply. Bring the truck. I smiled in the dark. Darlene had spent months trying to bury me. Time to return the favor. Thursday morning, VFW Hall, 9 a.m. I showed up with 2 file boxes, a laptop, and every receipt I'd saved since buying Thornhill. Rick was already there. My attorney buddy, 50-some, perpetually rumpled suit, sharp as a tack. Beth arrived with a thermos of coffee strong, enough to dissolve spoons. Lyle brought blueprints. We spread everything across the bar like we were planning a bank heist, except legal and significantly less profitable. All right, Rick said, cracking his knuckles. Darlene's wounded, but not dead. DA's investigation takes months. We need 3 simultaneous attacks. He grabbed a cocktail napkin. I'm dead serious. An actual bar napkin. And drew 3 arrows pointing at a stick figure labeled DVM. 1. Legal offense. Civil suit for harassment, abuse of process, slander, 50 grand in damages. Even if we settle for 20, it bleeds her legal budget and keeps her on defense. 2. Public pressure. Beth, you're our war correspondent. Weekly updates. Every dirty move Darlene makes, we document and publish. Make her name poison in this town. Beth was already typing, calling it the Thornhill Chronicles. Got a videographer buddy who will shoot for free. 3. Finish the house fast. Best. Revenge is proving she failed. Turn Thornhill from derelict eyesore into the crown jewel of the lake. Lyle tapped. The blueprints. Foundation solid. Electrical next. My brother-in-law Troy, licensed electrician. Ex-Army. Hill. Work at cost. Then roof and siding before first snow. I stared at Rick's napkin masterpiece. 3 arrows. 1. Crude stick figure enemy. It looked like a 3rd grader's art project. It was beautiful. How do I explain this to normal people? I asked. Rick leaned back. Abuse of process is easy. Imagine. Your neighbor keeps calling the cops on you for noise violations, but really he just hates your dog. The law says you can't weaponize the system for personal grudges. That's Darlene. She used building codes, liens, inspections, all as harassment tools because she wanted your land. I'm quoting you word for word, Beth said. Good. That's why they pay me in VFW coffee and gratitude. We worked through lunch, drafted the complaint, outlined Beth's editorial schedule, mapped renovation milestones. By 2 p.m., we had a war plan. By Saturday morning, we were swinging hammers. Troy showed up at 7 a.m. with 3 apprentices and enough electrical wire to power a small town. I worked beside them, pulling cable, drilling junction boxes, learning on the fly. Troy was patient, good teacher. You did construction in the Navy? CBS mostly demolition and framing. Not much on. Wiring. Same concept. Electricity flows like water. Just don't cross the streams, or you'll blow something up. That I understand. We ripped out the original 1924 knob and tube wiring. Cloth. Wrapped, brittle, some pieces charred black from decades of overload. Troy held up a particularly crispy strand for Zoe's camera. This is what we're saving this house from. One good lightning strike and Thornhill would have burned to the foundation. That Instagram clip hit 40,000 views in 2 days. Comments rolled in. Real American craftsmanship. This is what backbone looks like. Darlene who? Then the community showed up. Elena organized a Thornhill barn raising. Old school work party. Saturday morning. 30 volunteers appeared. Veterans from the VFW. Elena's church. Group. Curious neighbors. Even Phyllis. Yes, that Phyllis. Darlene's former bridge partner showed up carrying a pie. Pumpkin homemade. She set it on the porch railing, hands shaking slightly. Wouldn't quite meet my eyes. The note, tucked under the tin, read, I was a coward when I should have been a neighbor. Thank you for showing me the difference. I found her later painting. Window trim. Phyllis, you didn't have to. Yes, I did. I'm 73 years old. I don't have time left to be on the wrong side. We painted siding, rad 6 months of leaf rot, planted 200 spring bulbs that had bloomed long after this fight was over. Decca from the lumber's mill rolled up with a truckload of reclaimed oak. Heard you need flooring. I reached for my wallet. He stopped me. Darlene extorted $2,000 out of my grandson for a deck permit 3 years ago. Called it expediting fees. This is on me. Call it delayed justice. By sunset, Thornhill glowed. Not finished. Months left, but alive. Lights in the windows. Laughter bouncing off the water. Decca fired up a grill. Someone brought a cooler of beer. Impromptu party on the lawn. The smell of charcoal and cut grass mixing with the lake breeze. I stood on the porch watching 30 people who'd been strangers 6 months ago, now working like family, and felt something unfamiliar bloom in my chest. Not victory yet, but hope. Actual hope. Monday, Rick filed the lawsuit. $50,000 in damages, 18 pages of exhibits. Darlene's attorney called within hours asking about settlement. Rick's response, see you in court. Tuesday, the state board suspended Darlene's real estate license pending ethics review. Vance and Associates. Shut down overnight. Her empire gone. I installed a 24/7 live stream on Thornhill's porch. YouTube channel Thornhill Restoration. 3,200 subscribers. By Friday. Description, rebuilding a dream. Watch us win. I set up a cot in the foyer. Sleeping bag. Space heater. I wasn't leaving this house again. Darlene wanted Thornhill. She'd have to drag me out. And this time, I had witnesses, thousands of them. Week 18, early December. I woke at 3 a.m. to every security alarm in Thornhill screaming at once. Not a malfunction. The motion. Sensors were going berserk. I grabbed my phone, pulled up the live feeds, and watched in real time as a truck with obscured plates backed up to my driveway and dumped a mountain of construction debris, broken drywall, shattered tiles, and then bags marked with orange hazard labels. Asbestos, illegal to transport without permits, lethal to expose, and now spread across my lakefront like a toxic welcome mat. The truck idled for 90 seconds, then peeled out, gravel spraying. My final county inspection was in 5 hours. Someone had just tried to get me arrested. I didn't panic. Navy training. Assess before you react. I threw on a coat, grabbed a flashlight, and walked outside into air so cold it burned my lungs. The debris pile was massive, 2 tons easy. I started documenting everything with my phone. Photos from every angle. Video. Walkthroughs, close-ups of those asbestos bags with their warning labels clear as day. The smell hit me then. Diesel exhaust still hanging in the air, mixing with the chemical stink of old building materials. This wasn't random. This was expensive. Someone had paid good money to destroy me. At 7:30 a.m., Jerry, the code inspector, showed up early. He wasn't alone. County Sheriff's deputy trailing behind in a patrol car. Jerry climbed out, saw the debris, and I swear his face lit up like he just won the lottery. Mr. Jennings. Illegal. Dumping of hazardous materials is a Class E felony in New York. You're looking at criminal charges, potential jail time, not just fines. I leaned against my porch railing, coffee in hand, and let him finish his speech. Then, Jerry, this dump happened at 3:17 a.m. I've got 4K footage with timestamps. Want to see who actually drove that truck, or should we keep pretending? His smile collapsed like a failed slew. I pulled out my phone, showed him the video, the dump in progress, the plate obscuring tarp that didn't quite cover the VIN stencil on the door. That truck's registered to a landscaping company owned by Ron's brother-in-law. You know, Ron RB. Member, Darlene's poker buddy. Should I show this to the deputy, or are we done here? Deputy Greg walked over. Couldn't have been older than 25. Clean uniform, honest eyes, the kind of cop who actually believes in the job. What's the situation? I handed him my phone. Deputy, someone dumped 2 tons of asbestos on my property at 3 a.m. while I was asleep. I've got witnesses who can confirm I was here all evening working. That's the truck. That's the timeline. This is a frame job. Greg watched the footage twice. Didn't say a word. Just radioed his sergeant. 10 minutes later, Sergeant Kowalski pulled up. Older guy, weathered face, zero patience for nonsense. He reviewed the video, looked at Jerry, then at the debris pile. Inspections postponed. This is a crime scene. We'll photograph. Sample the asbestos. Run that VIN. He turned to me. Mr. Jennings, you'll need licensed hazmat removal. Don't touch anything yourself. Already called them. Elena's cousin arrived at noon with a crew in full Tyvek suits and respirators, moving through the debris like they were dismantling a bomb. Each piece bagged, each bag logged, chain of custody tighter than a military operation. I stood on the porch watching, coffee going cold in my hand, doing the math. $4,200. That's what this stunt was costing me. When they finished, I walked inside, sat down at my laptop, and typed up an invoice. Professional itemized. $4,200 for emergency hazmat cleanup. I printed it on fancy paper, slid it into an envelope, added a handwritten note. Darlene, consider this an invoice for your desperation. Payment due in 30 days. Late fees apply. Sent it certified. Mail. She'd never pay. That wasn't the point. The point was making sure she knew that I knew and that I wasn't afraid. Tuesday, Ron resigned from the ARB. One sentence, personal reasons. His brother-in-law's company put out a press release. The truck had been stolen that night and mysteriously returned the next morning with a full tank of gas. Even Ron's neighbors weren't buying it. By Thursday, the DA added sabotage to Darlene's file. Conspiracy, property destruction, witness intimidation. Her expensive Albany lawyer stopped taking her calls, probably realized she couldn't pay his retainer anymore. Van Camp and Associates went dark for lease sign in the window. Darlene's white Lexus sat in her driveway under a tarp collecting snow like a tombstone. I installed 2 more cameras. 6 angles. Now covering every approach. The YouTube live stream hit 5,200 subscribers. People watching me sand floors and grout tile. In real time. One comment stuck with me. This is better than Netflix and I actually care if the hero wins. I wasn't a hero. I was just a guy who refused to quit. But Darlene still had one card left to play, and desperate people make the worst decisions. Week 20, mid-December. I was inside Thornhill, installing cabinet hardware. The kitchen was finally taking shape when I heard a car pull up. Not Lyle's diesel truck or Elena's rattling minivan. Something quieter, expensive. I looked out the window. Darlene's white Lexus engine, idling in my driveway. She sat behind the wheel alone. No clipboard, no backup, just her, staring straight ahead like she was working up courage.